Hello everyone, I'm here with my angelic room to discuss So because this is the 6th and final book of the series, I'm not gonna give a description because everything that I would say is just spoilerly, and if you haven't read this series, I don't know what you've been doing with your life, and you need to go get a life and read this book. So I will put the first book of the series, The City of Bones, down below in the About section. It should be a Goodreads link, just in case someone somewhere has not read this book yet, because that's just crazy to me, but I thought I'd cover all my bases. Overall thoughts, this was such a perfect wrap up to the series. Cassandra Clare had such a way of perfectly wrapping up this series and also tying in the Infernal Devices and wrapping that up as well, but perfectly setting it up for the Dark Artifices, anyways, but it's going to be awesome and I can't wait for the next series that Cassandra puts out. To me, this book just justified the series. I really enjoyed the first 3 books, and then if you're like me, 4 and 5 were just kind of, you enjoyed them but they were just kind of okay, and I read the Infernal Devices during this time and I was like, why couldn't they be like this? And this book reminded me of just such the wonderful and beautiful writing style that was in Infernal Devices, and it's just spectacular. Just, this book is the cherry on top of the series, and I cannot praise it enough. So because I want to go into some detail and discuss things, I'm gonna have to say goodbye. If you haven't read it yet, for the non-spoilerly section, that is going to be it, because after I say goodbye again, we're gonna be doing spoilers, and really, you really don't want to be spoiled. So, bye non-spoilerly people! One of the things that I instantly found about this book is that, so the cover is of course gorgeous, but when you take off the cover, you have this beautiful artwork, and I'm gonna hide my face for a second so you can see all the artwork. How pretty is it? It's really good. It's good. It's so cool. I love it. So first off, let's discuss the deaths. I was so worried and anticipating who would die, because Cassandra Clare had teased that there was going to be 6 people who were going to die in this series, and so I made a list of the ones that I believe counted. There's one that I think we knew by name, but I'm not 100% sure. I felt like I had read him somewhere else. So the people who died were, 2 of them I had guessed because it was just perfect. One was Jordan, and that solved the boyfriend problem because she said a boyfriend was gonna die, and I had a feeling it wasn't going to be Jace or Alec or Simon, because I just felt like there would have been this huge whole uproar, and I don't think Cassandra Clare wanted to do that. So we have Jordan, and then we have Raphael, Maureen, Sebastian, like he kind of has to die. Well, I guess he technically didn't have to die, but it was a very satisfying conclusion when he did die. And then there was Amatis and Rufus. And Rufus is the one that I'm not sure, and I think we had a reference to him in the Infernal Devices. So I think he counts. If he doesn't count and there's someone else that I'm missing, please comment below and tell me that I'm such an idiot. None of the deaths though really hit me in the feels. I was just kind of like, okay, like Jordan's was kind of sad, but we never had really gone into him very much as a character, or at least I never really connected with him that much, so I wasn't all that upset when he died or Raphael died, because him and Simon just didn't really get along, so I was like, I'd rather have Simon live, bye! And then Amatis, I wasn't really sad for her death. I was more sad when she changed to become one of the Undarkened. But I felt like her death was more of a good thing because she was able to be free of this power or hold that Sebastian had over her. And then Rufus, we knew him, but we don't connect with him, and then Maureen was just batshit crazy and that girl needed to die. One of my favorite things about this book series was just watching how much both Clary and Jace grew as characters within the last 6 books. Clary turned from this person who was very dependent on Jace and Alec and Isabel, and to the end she turns into a badass. And there was one point where they were fighting and Jace was like, he really just wanted to hold her and protect her, but he knew that he had trained her and this is what she was meant to do. She's a shadow hunter, she can protect herself. And Clary was just really on point with that, and she turned into a very strong character, and I liked seeing that development throughout the 6 books. Jace, on the other hand, he was very hard and very sarcastic and witty, and I loved the wit, but it was really nice seeing him in this book. He had a lot of wit still, but we got to see a more softer side of him, and he felt more calm. So I'm glad that we got to see that connection between both Jace and Clary and how they really helped each other become a better person. So briefly, I just want to talk about all of the Infernal Devices little snippets that we found throughout City of Heavenly Fire, because I bookmarked every single one of them. I was like, oh, here's one, oh, here's another one, oh my god, here's another one, and I loved them all. The Infernal Devices is my favorite series so far, and so the fact that she put in so many more snippets than I thought she would into the City of Heavenly Fire totally made my day. So while there were so many, I have like 3 that I really want to talk about because they hit me in the feels. The first one was just so very subtle that I didn't read it at first, and I started reading along, and then I think my brain caught up to what I had just read, and I was like, whoa, 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 wait, just 1 second, and I really wanted this to happen, and it did in a very subtle way, but it still like got me in the feels just thinking about it. It's on page 168, and it says, Clary pulled away from his grip, sliding past an endarkened warrior who was facing off against a staff-wielded silent brother in bloody parchment robes. And it took me a while to realize, oh my god, that's Jem. That is Brother Zachariah. It is Jem. Jem and Jace are fighting side by side again, and if I think about it too much, I'm gonna start tearing up because it is just so beautiful. Ah, the feels. When Brother Zachariah was turning into Jem and he was helping Jace with his heavenly fire because it was spewing out everywhere, I was just like, oh my god, it's happening. Ah, it's happening. And I was super excited, kind of like I'm excited now, except for more fangirly, and it was in my head versus spewing out of my mouth at the rapid rate that it is right now. The second one was a subtle hint of Jessamine Lovelace. It's on page 196, and Luke states, apparently Sebastian and his forces tried to attack. They were rebuffed by some kind of protection spell, something that even the council didn't know about, something that warned the shadow hunters what was coming and led them to safety. A ghost, Magnus said. A smile hovered around his lips. A spirit, sworn to protect the place. She'd been there for 130 years. She? Jocelyn said, leaning back against the dusty wall. A ghost? Really? What was her name? You would recognize her last name if I told it to you, but she wouldn't like that. Magnus's gaze was far away. I hope this means she's found peace. So that got me in the feels, because even though Jessamine wasn't the most likable character, in the end of the series she kind of redeemed herself, and it's nice to know that, well, not nice to know that she's still like trapped, I guess, in the physical world and not up in heaven, I guess, where she's supposed to be. But it was nice to see that she was still looking out over the Institute and realized that she could help. One more, I promise, and even though there's actually a lot more, but one more I want to share, and this one is where Emma Carstairs meets Jem, and it is on page 333. And Jem talks to Emma saying, thanks for telling us. It's a help, a huge help. You should go, he added, as gently as he could, before they notice you're gone. But from now on, the Herondales owe the Carstairs, okay? Remember that. So does that mean we're gonna be seeing Jem in the Dark Artifices? Because that would make me very, very happy. I'm trying not to get my hopes up because I know it might not happen, but if it does, I'm going to fangirl scream. it's just gonna happen. I loved getting to meet Emma and Julian in this really unique way in the City of Heavenly Fire that leads up to the Dark Artifices, because we know that they're gonna be the two main characters. And I really like that you kind of get to see their background and where they come from leading up to the series. So while you can get some flashbacks and reminders in the Dark Artifices, you have more of a connection now with both Emma and Julian starting into this, and I already can tell that they're going to be characters that I love. So there was one part of the book that I was screaming at my book in such frustration because there were what? Isabel, Simon, Alec, Jace, and Claire. So there was 5 people and no one thought about this, and it really made me so frustrated. It's when they go through this fairy realm in order to get into the demon realm, and they run into the Seelie Queen, and they're like, oh, well, you can't tell Sebastian that we were here. I just knew, because fairies have to keep their promises, but they're very tricky and very sly about getting out of them. And in my head, before the Seelie Queen actually went to tell Sebastian, I was just like, you should cover all your bases. Like, you should make sure that the Queen promises to tell that you never arrived, that you weren't leaving, that, I don't know, just everything. Everything that you could think of, you should ponder for like 5 minutes and see how there are any loopholes, because those fairies are tricky and not very nice. So when the Fairy Queen went back and told Sebastian, like, ha ha ha, well, they didn't make me promise to say anything about leaving, and so I was just like, see? This is what I'm talking about. Use your noggins. There's 5 of you. 5 of you. That means your brain power times 5. You should have thought of that. So let's talk about the death of Sebastian and all the feelings and everything leading up to it. I really liked the fact that earlier, before we got into this main scene, we knew that Jace and Clary kind of had a plan because it was mentioned, but they didn't actually say what the plan was, and I like the fact that Cassandra Clare made the mystery of what was actually going to happen a mystery to us, and it made it a lot more like anticipating and nail-biting, and it was such a good idea. So when Jace is thrown across the room by Sebastian's powers and basically knocked unconscious, it's up to Clary to figure out the rest of this plan. And to be honest, if I were Clary, I probably would have made the same decision that she made, and the fact of she could either try to kill Simon but everyone up in Alicante would be killed as well, or she could stay with Simon, be his queen, and know that her loved ones are safe. As awful as both decisions are, I can understand why Clary made the decision that she made, and it worked out in the end for fooling Sebastian, because she put the Heavenly Fire in her own sword, in the Morgenstern sword, and was able to kill him that way. And you knew right before things were about to turn, because Clary's going along with it, she's like, oh god, this is gross, and then Sebastian's like, kiss me in front of everyone to prove that you are with me, and it was really creepy. So then when Clary kisses Sebastian on the cheek and says, Hail Master, in my head I'm automatically like, yes, 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 do it, kill him! And then she takes the sword and jams it up his chest into his heart. However, when the sword containing the holy fire burned away all of Sebastian's demonness, I guess, and we saw the Sebastian, or I guess the Jonathan that was deep down inside, I kind of felt bad. Is that bad? Like, I didn't feel bad for Sebastian. I felt bad for Jonathan, and there is a big difference. Because when Clary has that dream, and she has her older brother Jonathan, and she has a little sister, and everyone is happy, that's what Clary really wanted. And that's something that she was never allowed, that Jocelyn was never allowed, and that Jonathan was never allowed because of stupid Valentine. So while Sebastian is accountable for his actions, even though I don't think he kind of fully comprehends what he's exactly doing wrong, I felt bad for the Jonathan that could have been, that was never able to be and to exist. And so I kind of teared up a little bit during that scene, and I hope that doesn't make me an awful person, but yeah, I just felt really bad. The one part that I sobbed through the book was when they're trying to get out of the demon realm and Magnus calls his father and Simon decides that he is going to take away his memories in order for everyone to live. And it was such a bittersweet type thing, and it was sweet because Simon had always just wanted to be normal. He didn't want to be a vampire. He hated being a vampire. He hated every single thing about it. But it was such a bittersweet thing because then he wouldn't know Isabel and Jace and Clary most of all. Like, that's what got me. It was all through Clary's point of view, and she's just like, this person who was basically my brother isn't going to remember me. And I'm tearing up now just thinking about it because the feels, guys, the feels. So when Simon's memories are taken away and Clary and Isabel go to see Simon for the first time, it was just so heartbreaking because he really just did not know who they were. But then there's that little glitter of hope when Simon starts remembering. I can't exactly right now remember what he was remembering, but he remembered something about it. And so Magnus gave him the book of spells and was like, you used to be great. You still have the potential to be great. Like, if you want more information about these gaps and holes in your memory, come talk to me. So then when Clary is at Jocelyn and Luke's wedding and Simon shows up, and it's just, oh, it was so happy because, no, he didn't remember everything perfectly, but things were starting to fill in and the pieces were starting to fill in, and they were going to try to have Simon go through the ritual and become a shadow hunter, which then had like basically a perfectly happy ever after for Isabel and Simon. So one of my favorite parts of Simon starting to get his memories back is when he and Jace like meet each other for the first time, and it's on page 719. Simon was looking at Jace as if he were both fascinating and also a little alarming. Did I bite you? Jace touched the scar at his throat. I can't believe you remember that. Did we roll around at the bottom of a boat? Yes, you bit me. Yes, I kind of liked it. Yes, let's not talk about it again. It just sums up the relationship perfectly between Simon and Jace, and yeah, it's perfect, and I laughed out loud. And then Alec and Magnus were back together, and like they should have been the whole time because they're perfect together, and then there was no Clary Jace issue this whole thing, and so it was so nice getting to see them be happy together for one whole freaking book. I loved how the ending was resolved kind of early in the book, and that we had a couple chapters to just kind of mesh and put everything together and put a pretty little bow on it, and I really liked that and I really appreciate it. Thank you, Cassandra Clare, for making the series just so lovely, and I can't wait for the Dark Artifices, and just happy feels. Happy feels. So that is it for today. There's so much that I really wanted to discuss, but those are the main things that I really wanted to talk to you guys about. If there's anything that you guys want to discuss, comment below and we can discuss it. I do say though, please try to warn people of spoilers ahead of time before you give something away, because it is still fairly new. Some people might not have read it yet, and give them time to read and appreciate the book instead of spoiling everything. So until next time, awe atque vale, hail and farewell my shadow hunter friends. Bye! I don't want to talk about that yet. Scratch that, scratch that. And that's when we find out that that was the master plan.